Thank you for joining our weekly team meeting. Just turn off the music. We'll come back to the party afterwards. We have the pleasure today to host both the CR Senior Economist and Director of Research, Mr. Asko Wei. We're going to hear from him in a couple of minutes. Great pleasure, and here's some insight of what's happening in the housing market, and superstar Rachel Adams, real estate coach and a mega agent, part of our KW family. So before I'm going to introduce Mr. Wei, this is once again broadcast on our Facebook group, Facebook Live. So if you have any questions or what have you, comments, you can make those notes, and I'm going to communicate with our guests. And Halley.
Yeah, I brought my glasses today.
You brought your glasses, yeah. Tell us something good.
Success isn't always about greatness. It's about consistency. Consistent hard work leads to success. Greatness will come. Dwayne Johnson. Is that The Rock?
I hope so. Yeah, it is. it sure is.
Good.
It sure is, yeah. And while she was reading, we probably seeing with the small screen, we are practicing social distancing over here, so it's all good. We have the face mask, and we set up for reopening. But thank you for sharing. It's just to keep reminding you guys out there that stay consistent, stay on track, stay focused and purposeful. We're going to hear later from our friend, superstar Rachel Adams about that as well. She has a lot to add, I bet. And with that, we'd love to honor to introduce our first guest today at the meeting, Mr. Asko Wei, Senior Economist and Director of Research for CAR, California Association of Realtors. Mr. Wei, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes, definitely. Thank you again for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share the information with you guys. Meny, we have, about 30 minutes or so, and then 10 minutes Q&A?
Sure.
Great.
That?
Well, with that in mind, I'll share my some information with you guys. It's a different time, a challenging time right now. So definitely we can use some guidance. We can use some information, from our economic perspective as well as the market perspective. So today I'm going to show you some statistics, show you some slides based on what we have collected in the last few weeks. Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen.
Sure, and while you're doing that, just to mention that Mr. Wei is a senior economist for the California Association of Realtors. Been analyzing housing market condition, consumer behavior, public policy issues through the use of transactional data and survey research, and huge asset to our community as well on a regular basis. So thanks for making yourself available, Oscar.
You're very welcome, and thanks for again giving me the opportunity to come by and share some information. And thanks for the introduction. So let's get started. I know again this is very challenging time, and it's very different compared to a couple months ago when everything was somewhat normal. But things probably will not be exactly normal for a while. So I think it's good to take a look at what we're going through right now, what the COVID-19 pandemic might have already done to our economy, what it has already done to the market, and then later on in the last 15 minutes or so, maybe talk about what we can expect from this point on. So, but for the first half of the meeting, I'm going to talk about the economy. And then I'm going to talk about the housing market. I think it's very important to understand the economy because this is the big picture. Knowing the big picture allowed us to make some assessment about the housing market as well. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that the economy is already in recession, and we probably will continue go through the recessions in the next couple months, and maybe in the third quarter, maybe even the fourth quarter. But the damage is definitely there, and we are going to look at how that economic conditions will affect the housing market. Some of the sales demand and also effect on price might have already revealed itself in our in our housing market statistics. We're going to look at some of those numbers. And then we're going to spend the next the 10 to 15 minutes at the end to talk about the path to recovery. It's going to be rough, but I think the housing market, is going to be a bright spot amongst all the other industries. It's going to take some time, though. We're going to see some challenges in the near term, meaning in the second quarter and the third quarter. But it will be a brighter spot compared to other industries. So let's take a look at the economic activities first. Let's take a look at what the impact, what the pandemic has done to the economy. As I mentioned, things have changed quite a bit. We have the stay-at-home orders in place since mid-March. We had started in Bay Area and then later on in LA. So things are a little different, and if you take a look at what I have up here. Now, since the stay-at-home order, the shelter-in-place orders, many economic activities have been pretty much shut down, and Google actually did a pretty nice job in taking a look at some of these activities and how it affects the mobility in California. So they did a comparison between what happened at the beginning of the year to what happened now. Now, based on some of these charts, it'll give you some ideas about what has happened to the economy. There are 6 charts up here that shows you the mobility trends, basically shows you the traffic in some of those areas. And the upper right-hand corner is this retail and recreation. That's basically restaurants, movie theaters, or malls. As you can see from that chart, it looks like we have the traffic in those areas have gone down quite significantly. In fact, by almost 50%. Very understandable in terms of how big it dropped, because we're all staying at home. We're not going out. Now, we're still going to grocery store, supermarket, and you can see in the second chart that it actually has dropped by about 8% or so. So there are some activities there. There are some other activities like going to parks, taking buses, like in the transit stations. And of course, we're all staying at home, working from home. We're not working in our office, and that's why in the workplace, in the bottom chart there, it dropped by 50%. That's the reason why we're doing a Zoom. We're doing a Blue Jeans meeting, because we are not traveling. And that's the reason why we're seeing some increase in residential areas, traffic in residential areas. Now, this mobility report offers some suggestions about what's happening in the economy. Now, one suggestion, obviously, is, because people are staying at home, the price for Zoom has gone up significantly. Zoom is just one example. It's gone up quite significantly. But probably many people are staying at home. Now, you can't buy from retail stores in the mall. You turn to Amazon, right? Amazon's activity have gone up. Amazon activity hasn't gone up. And I mentioned about movie theaters. We can't go to the movie theaters, and that's why we're going to stream movies online. Take a look at Netflix. It's gone up by 29%. But there's some other economic activities that have gone down significantly. Let's take a look. Those activities that I show you, those charts that I show you, all those charts shows a lot of traffic has gone down for retail and recreation stores. And in fact, that did go down quite significantly. Take a look at what happened to March. In March, compared to February, retail store sales plummeted. Well, I shouldn't say plummeted, dropped by 9%. Total retail store sales dropped by 8.7% to be specific. And what are some of the drops? Take a look at what happened in the bottom of the chart. Clothing and accessories dropped 50.5% because we can't go to the mall. Dining in the restaurants, we can't do that. We can only do takeouts, right? Dropped 26-27%. Can't go to Best Buy to buy electronics. So some of those drops. There are some groceries activities went up. General merchandise, maybe some places like Target or Walmart, we can still buy some stuff. But overall, it dropped 9%. So what exactly is 9%? We have to put something in perspective, put them into historical perspective. It gives you an idea how significant that is. This 9% is right here. If you look at how it compares to historical numbers, the month-to-month drop of 9% in the last 30 years is actually the biggest. But what happened last recessions in 2008, 2009? This is what happened. That's the biggest drop, month-to-month drop in the last recessions. It was only about 4.5%. I said only, quote unquote only. Still a big drop. But this, Trump, the current drop actually trumped what happened in 2008, 2009. But also keep in mind what happened in March. We only had about 2 to 3 weeks of shutdown at the end of March, 2 weeks. But in April, this number probably will be even more significant, maybe in the 30, 40, even 50% drop, because for the entire April, we had a shutdown. We had the entire state shut down for entire April, maybe going forward to May as well. So we expect, the number to get even worse. Now, the retail sales number is a significant number because retail sales is a big part of consumer spending, and consumer spending is a big part of the GDP, the national GDP, the U.S., the California GDP. In fact, GDP makes up about 2/3 of the growth activities. So a significant drop in retail sales means we have a significant drop in economic activities. The first quarter number for GDP for the nation dropped close to 5%. That 5% drop is the biggest that we have seen, at least going back to the third quarter of 2008. The third quarter of 2008, it dropped close to about 10%. But again, keep in mind, this is only about 2-3 weeks of slowdown in economic activities because of the shutdown. In the second quarter, between April and June, we probably will see a bigger drop. A lot of economists believe that that's going to be somewhere between 30 to 40%. And I believe that is probably close to what we're seeing. Now, the GDP is one way to show, how slowed down we have been. But more recent numbers, such as the unemployment number for April, also is very shocking. If you look at that number, remember, some of you probably remember, before the pandemic, we had a unemployment rate at about 3.5%. That was the lowest that we had on record for about 50 years. And what happened here? Just a matter of a few weeks, that number shot up to close to 15%, and probably will be even worse, in the upcoming months. 14.7%. That's the lowest. That's the highest since 1933. And as far as people who are participating in the labor force, people in the population that are working, that number plummeted also. Before the coronavirus pandemic, before the shutdown, we had about 63% of the population working in the labor force. That number dropped down to 51.3%. That is a record low. So the reason why I want to show you these numbers is to tell you that, yes, it's affecting it at a very macro level, but it's also affecting a lot of people who apply for unemployment insurance. In the last few weeks, you've seen these numbers in the news probably. A lot of people file jobless claims. In fact, in the last 6 weeks or so, 33 million in the U.S. file jobless claim. What exactly is 33 million? So let's compare that to what happened in the last recession. In the last recession, which was again 2008, 2010, 2-year period of time, we lost 37 million jobs. Jobless claims was to 37 million. So in just a matter of 8 weeks, we have already gotten up to 33. And it's going to continue for the next few weeks or so in millions. But we do have a glimpse of hope. It looks like, based on the trend that we are seeing, the labor market actually is continue to see a big number for jobless claim. But that number is actually slowing down. Now, the third week of March, when we started seeing millions of jobless claim, the first big number was 3.3. It shot up to 6.8 in the week after that. And then from that point on, we have been slowing down. In the last few weeks, we have been trending down, still at a 3.2 million level. Next week probably will be somewhere around 2.8 or so. The number that will be released on Thursday will be somewhere around 2.8 or 2.5 or so. But we will continue on with the million number for the next few weeks. Probably won't hit below 1 million until maybe first week of June, as we started seeing the California reopen. Phase one will probably bring in a little bit more activity, economic activity, and some jobs back. But needless to say, it affects at the national level, but it also affects the state of California. The state of California, we had 10 years of job gain. Obviously, that stopped in the latest statistics. Last month, it actually dropped close to 100,000. And it probably will drop a little bit more in the upcoming months. And that has, some significant impact on the economic output at the state level. On a daily basis for California, because of the shutdown, because of the stay-at-home, a lot of economic activities has been reduced. We lost on a daily basis for the state 2.8 billion. That is equivalent to about 32% of the 8.8 billion normal daily output. So that's pretty significant. That's the reason why a lot of economists believe that we will be losing about 30% of the output. So let's take a look at how that affects the market. Now, the economy obviously is taking a huge hit, but then the market also have been feeling some negative impact as well. I'm going to first take a look at our rearview mirror. Take a look at what happened in March, because that's the latest monthly statistics that we release. Then I'm going to give you some statistics on a weekly basis that gives you a little bit more recent data. So let's take a look at the latest release that we released for March. March number, it shows a drop of sales, this number here, by about 6%, a little bit more than 6.1% on a year-over-year basis. So compared to last year, it drops a little bit more than 6%. Now, that's again based on the March statistics with 2 weeks of shutdown, 3 weeks of shutdowns or so. And it's already dropped by about 6.1%. But also keep in mind, closed sales typically reflect what happened a month ago when we have pending sales or some of the escrow closed. So this is not a true reflection of the demand, the housing demand in California. In fact, that 6.1% probably just reflects some delay in closing due to the shutdown, not necessarily because of the interest in home buying. Now, if you look at the 3 months, the sales demand or closed sales for the first 3 months, it's still showing a gain of 3.1%. The year-to-date number shows the first 3 months gain, the first 3 months sales. Still showing a gain because the first couple months we were actually pretty good in terms of performing pretty well in terms of sales. Partly because of low interest rates. Interest rate remain at below 4%. I think currently it is at around the 30-year fixed rate. It's probably around 3.2, 3.3 right now. So the activities, even though it actually reduced in March, it didn't reduce as much as we thought it would be. Price-wise, in March, it was pretty consistent with what we saw in the first 2 months of the year. It's continued to gain by 8.3%. The first month of the year, January, was like a 10% increase and then a 7% increase in February. So it continued to stay at that level, partly because of tight inventory. We have very tight inventory in March, 2.7 months. It dropped off 25% from the year before. So if you just look at March, it looks like, yes, we did have some drop in sales, but not as much. But let's take a look at weekly. That's a better reflection of what's going on with more recent data. When we look at closed sales on a weekly basis, we started looking at some daily numbers and put together some weekly. If you look at the closed sales on a weekly basis, let's take a look at California on the set of data on the right-hand side here. First week of March, it was 631, average daily close sales. That number dropped, obviously, quite significantly a few weeks later, continued to drop all the way to 392. Now, you can see, you probably noticed that there was a little surge the week before, in the week of April 26th to May 2nd, a little surge. When I looked at those numbers last week, I thought, okay, well, maybe it started coming back, but then it's dropped again. It dropped quite significantly also. And I think it has something to do with the fact that a month prior to May 3rd or May 8th, that's the week when we had our Easter. That's the week when we had Good Friday. So that week, as far as sales activities is concerned, people may not necessarily close escrow that week. So that week may be a slow week because of that reason, and so it reflects in the closed sales in the first week of May. But the other reason that could be a potential factor is the fact that some escrow actually close. I mean, escrow usually close between 30 to 45 days or so, right? So there could be some escrow that were scheduled to close in 45 days. And if you look back at what 45 days ago was, 45 days from this first week was about the time when we had the shutdown. So that both of those factors may have affected the closed sales. So closed sales actually has gone down, and it's actually at a very low level. So we expect, April and May sales to continue to go down, and we will have some April numbers early next week. But if you look at it if you really want to look at the recent activities, recent housing demand, you should look at pending sales. Pending sales actually show some more encouraging news. If you look at the state level, for pending sales, we have been seeing the pending sales trending up. It bottomed out in about first week or second week of April, and then it started trending up. Now, of course, some of these activities, some trending up, are probably due to seasonality. Usually in the home buying season, March, April, May, we started seeing some activity go up. So some of these trending up could be due to the seasonality, but it is still encouraging to see that we are seeing some improvement in the last few weeks consistently, despite the fact that we have shelter in place and the stay-at-home order. I think people are also figuring out how to use virtual tours. Maybe buyers are looking at interest rates and feel like, okay, well, I should take advantage of the low interest rates. The economic conditions obviously have not settled. We still have a lot of people that are continuing to apply for jobless claims or apply for unemployment claims. So, we expect to see, slowdown in the housing market. But the encouraging sign of increasing pending sales is a glimpse of hope. The other indicators that we can take a look at mortgage applications. You look at mortgage applications, this is mortgage applications on new purchases. If you look at this, you can see for the state of California, we actually have seen week over week improvement in new purchase applications. The week of that may end at May 1st, it increased by 10.1%. And then this week, or the latest statistics, it shows another double-digit gain on purchase application. That's a good sign. Now, it's still below last year. Compared to last year, we're still down by 23%. But I can tell you, a few weeks ago, we were down 50%. So as far as the mortgage applications, new mortgage applications, we're doing better. At the national level, we're down about 10% or so. And you can see it from this trend. This graph here that shows year-over-year change in new applications. We did bottom out in maybe the second week of April before climbing back. Again, we're still down, so we're just not down as much. It's a sign of encouragement, nevertheless. Now let's take a look at, when we look at housing market, we look at the demand side and the supply side. I'm an economist, so I talk about supply and demand. So when you look at how the market is moving and how prices are being set, we look at the supply side and demand side. So we talked about the demand side a little bit. So let's take a look at the supply side, which is on new listings. New listings also started rising also. If you look at the state number, it also bottomed out maybe the third week of April or so, second week of April or so, and then it started rising. In fact, right now compared to the first week, we're probably down about 15% as far as supply is concerned. And in Southern California, it dropped from 511 to 382, but it is showing a steady rising trend except for the latest week. Showing activities, we are seeing some showings, probably of virtual showings of the last few weeks. This is based on Showtime, showingtime.com, and it shows that as far as the showing activity as compared to the very first week of the year, it did drop all the way to the bottom in the last week of March before climbing back. Right now, it's actually a little bit higher than what we saw at the beginning of the year. In fact, about 1.5%. Still below last year. Last year, at this time of the year, it's about 40% higher than the beginning of the year. So it is still lower, but nevertheless, it's showing an improvement. Now, I want to show you some more local statistics. I'm not showing any city statistics right now because of the time constraint, but I want to show you some of the Southern California counties. If you look at the closed sales by county, LA, as just like the state number, continue to drop. This is a drop of 45% compared to the peak, not the peak, but the first week of March. Pretty much every county in Southern California shows some decline. Now, some counties are actually dropping less than others. Riverside, San Bernardino, they're not dropping as much as LA. Drop maybe about 30%, 33% or so. Same for South San Bernardino, partly because of housing affordability issues and probably because of tight supply in lower price segments. But if you look at pending sales again tell a little bit better story in terms of what's happening recently. If you look at LA, this is again very encouraging because even though closed sales drop about 45% in terms of pending sales, we're seeing only about 10% drop compared to the first week. And it continued to improve, hopefully, in the next few weeks or so. Same for other counties. Now, one county I want to point out is San Diego. San Diego actually started rising above, what we saw in the first week of March, which is a good sign. And then the supply side continued to stay below the first week of March, but we're seeing rising trend as well in pretty much all areas. Some areas are not rising as fast, such as Riverside and San Bernardino, not rising as fast, maybe again because of tight supply. So now, all that I've shown you so far, those are based on transactional data. We also want to take a look at, how consumers are reacting to, the current situation with the pandemics. We sent out surveys on a regular basis, and we sent out a survey to ask whether people would like to think it's a good time to buy or think it's a good time to sell. If you look at the good time to buy and a good time to sell, they behave differently. Those who believe it's a good time to buy actually, in the last couple of weeks, increased from 28% to 31%. Now, we have a short history for this survey. This is sent out through Google, and we have a short history, maybe only about a year and a half or so. But this 31% is actually the highest in our short history of a year and a half. And that suggests to us that, that mortgage interest rates obviously make a difference. They look at many people who are considering buying, think it's a good time to buy because they look at interest rates. This is the lowest interest rates for quite some time. And also, some buyers believe that home prices will go down and they think it might be a good time to buy for those who have the ability to buy. On the other hand, for property owners, many sellers, because of the economic conditions, current economic conditions, believe this is not necessarily a good time to sell. That number before the pandemic used to be somewhere around 59%, 60%. It dropped all the way in just a month to 26% before bouncing back slightly to 29%. So it has gone up a little bit recently, but still at a low level. Now, from a consumer survey again, we ask buyers, we ask our members whether buyers actually think prices will go down, and a lot of buyers In fact, 85% in the latest week expect lower prices. They believe the current market conditions may actually lead to some discount in pricing. In fact, some buyers even attempted to renegotiate purchase price prior to closing. But sellers think differently. Sellers, they're not on the same page. If you look at the chart on the left-hand side, maybe only about 30% reduced price to attract buyers. Still at around a level that is pretty consistent with the last few weeks or so. And if you look at the actual number of transactions with a discount, the beginning of the month in March, 30%. It really didn't change that much at the beginning of May as well, maybe about 28% or so. So those sellers are actually keeping their properties maybe off the market for now, even though they're not, they may not be selling as fast. They are removing the properties because of not being able to do tours and stuff like that, not being able to promote the properties as much. Many sellers decide to remove the properties from the market, and 52% decide to remove the properties from the market instead of reducing prices. So prices are probably a little bit more sticky. So let's take a look at what happened going forward. I'm going to spend the next hopefully 6 or 7 minutes talking about the outlook, and then we can open up and talk about Q&As. So now, in terms of economy, in order to understand how the economy is going to recover, how long this is going to last, it may not necessarily be something that can be answered by economic theories. In fact, we have to look at how the pandemic, the COVID-19 projections will pan out in order to figure out how long the shutdown is going to be and how fast the economy will recover. Now, based on what we have from projections from models at the end of March, it shows at the end of March that in California they projected at that time that we could actually hit somewhere around 10,000 in terms of people who might be hospitalized. And then the number of cases will eventually slow down, and it may sort of phase out in August. Now, we have since actually, quote unquote, flattened the curve because of everything that everyone has done in California. We stay home. We didn't go out and didn't go to crowded places, and as such, we actually keep the curve down. In fact, the number of people who got hospitalized, at least as of now, that number has only gone up to 2,000. Still a big number, but has gone up to 2,000. We still have about 1,000 cases, a little bit more than 1,000 cases every day, but that curve has flattened a little bit. We still are going to see some new cases in the next couple upcoming months or so. So we still have to continue practicing the social distancing, keeping our social distancing practice. But we have actually keep the number of cases down. Now, in order to figure out, how long the recovery is going to be, based on some of those projections that you saw earlier, we can look at some of the case studies based on some of the other outbreaks that we have seen in the past. The SARS outbreaks in China, the Fukushima disaster outbreak, and also the MERS outbreak. Those might offer some insights as to how long the recovery is going to be. All those incidents, all those outbreaks, it took about 2 to 3 months for the pandemic for the outbreak to actually bring retail sales down to the bottom before starting to recover. So it took about 6 months or so in some of those cases. But the current pandemic is a little different. It's more significant, it's more global, and it is going to affect us a little bit more economically. I think it could stretch out to about 9 months or so, or maybe even further. So by the end of the year, we probably will see in the last quarter of the year, we probably will see a little bit more economic activities, and then it will continue to recover in 2021. Now, you probably have heard in the news about the recovery alphabet, like whether it's a V-shaped recovery, whether it's a U-shaped recovery, or the Nike sign recovery. So I'm going to show you some type of recovery that we may actually experience. The V-shape most likely is not going to happen, meaning a sharp drop in activities and then a bounce back sharp drop. This is probably not going to happen. Most likely it's going to be the U-shape or the swoosh shaped or the Nike sign. And if this is the case, and if it looks like more likely that this is going to be the case, so it's going to be a longer than a V-shaped recovery, so it's going to take a little longer, and it's slower than a U-shape. Now, these other type of recovery probably not going to happen. Now, we do have a fiscal stimulus, we do have monetary stimulus, but it's not going to push our economic growth past the normal projections. It's just simply not enough. And then this actually could be another scenario. The W shape is if we actually have a second wave. Now, we talked about second wave because we have seen some second wave actually in China. So if in the fall, the pandemic start coming back, coronavirus start coming back, we could actually experience a W shape. Now, if you look at how economists predict, many economists from Wells Fargo, from Bank of America, from the Congressional Budget Office, they all believe that, the first quarter is already in the bag, but the second quarter, they all believe that the second quarter economic growth is going to drop by about 30% to 40%. So that's pretty significant. Third quarter, most, I should say, believe that we will see a bounce back, assuming that we're not seeing a second wave. And the fourth quarter will be even better. But all in all, in 2020, we still see a decline in economic output, but somewhere between 3 to 10%. What about the market? If you look at the market, again, this is something that we have never seen before, so we're in uncharted territory. But we can draw some insight again or some clue from what happened in China. Earlier part of the year, when China got hit with the coronavirus, they also have their property sales shut down completely. Home sales dropped from all the way to pretty much zero, compared to 2019, before they started bouncing back. This is based on some studies of 30 major cities in China. So it shows that in the next 3 months after the pandemic, they started recovering, and late April, they actually got back to a level that was comparable to 2019. Now, I don't think we're going to see that in California. It's going to be a little slow, I think. Most likely we won't see the sales going back to the level that we've used to see in 2019 until somewhere in 2021. And NAR and some other banks and institutes actually made some prediction. NAR and Fannie Mae and Mortgage Banks Association believe, well, specifically NAR and Fannie Mae believe that in the second quarter we're going to drop quite significantly, before bouncing back in the third quarter and then fourth quarter. Now, this looks more like that, Nike swish whip, recovery phase that I showed you earlier. Now, Mortgage Bankers Association, they believe that it's going to drop less. I think part of the reason is because they actually made that prediction in the beginning of April, so they might actually have to change their forecast. As far as prices are concerned, prices, as I mentioned, they're a little bit more sticky. So we are going to see some slowdown in price. Now, NAR actually predicted that prices will drop a little bit. This is median price at the national level. Dropped a little bit on a quarter-to-quarter basis, but on a year-over-year basis, actually pretty comparable, before bouncing back. And at the end of the year, or the second quarter of 2021, it will actually be higher than this year. So let's take a look at the chart. It might be a little easier to look at those numbers. In terms of sales, NAR, Fannie Mae, and MBA, they all believe that this year we're going to drop by more than 10%. While NAR and Fannie Mae believe we're going to drop by more than 10%, but bounce back in 2021. Price-wise, slight increase in price in 2020 and then 2021. I only need a couple more minutes to wrap it up. I know I'm running a little bit over time.
Thanks, Oscar. Yeah.
I'll close it up in a couple minutes. So for California, as far as the economy is concerned, yes, we're going to drop by 30-40%. Unemployment is expected to actually exceed 20%. Just to put that into perspective, we used to have 4% or below 4%. Now it's 20%. What about sales and price in California? Now, I don't have a chart here, but I can tell you for 2020, we believe that sales are probably going to drop by about double digit, somewhere between 13 to 15% for California. But price again remain pretty consistent with what we saw. I shouldn't say consistent, will remain positive. Now, we did have a strong growth in the first 3 months or so, but we are going to see some decline in the rest of the year. But most likely it will be a decline of maybe 3 to 4 or 5%. The question is whether we're going to see a second wave. If we do see a second wave, then that might be a problem. So let me finish up by concluding that yes, we are going to see have some challenging time, and the recovery phase is really determined by how long the pandemic is going to be. We have to be patient. We can't rush back to normalcy because it could lead to more outbreaks. But the market is going to face some challenge in the second quarter and the third quarter. Prices probably will be okay, and housing sector is, as I mentioned before, probably will do better than other sectors because of low interest rates, because of tight inventory that we still experience. This is going to be different compared to 2008, 2009, because in 2008, 2009, many of you probably remember, back then, while interest rates were at like 5 or 6% at that time, but also inventory, when the market tanked in 2008, 2009, inventory actually shot up to 18, 19 months. We're not going to see that this time because we have very tight inventory this time. And it's also too soon to say if there is going to be any long-term impact of behavioral changes. What I meant by behavioral changes are things like if people don't have to actually work in the office, they may actually buy a home a little further away to take advantage of more affordable pricing. Maybe also as for the supply side, because some of the office space and retail space may not be necessary anymore, so those could be converted to housing supply for the residential property. So it's too soon to say whether that's going to happen, but those are some of the things that could happen. With that said, that wraps up the presentation. Thank you again for inviting me, and if we have time, we can open up and do a little bit of a Q&A.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. That was, the best part about your presentation. It's very, in most of the parts, it's very optimistic, and that's refreshing. And thank you for that. And you're not making those data up. It's real stuff, so it's good to hear. You pretty much covered a lot of stuff, and I would love to bring you to another, more in-depth session. So we'll have to jump to our next guest, but. Mr. Askoway, Senior Economist and Director of Research for CER, I want to thank you so much for your time and for the data. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I know since we don't have time for Q&A, I do have my email address at the end. Let me just repeat it. It's oscarw@car.org. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email.
Perfect. Mr. Askoway, Senior Economist, CER, thank you so much for your time. That was incredible information. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are jumping to our next guest, superstar Rachel Adams-Lee. Rachel, thank you for your patience.
You're welcome.
Yes, good to have you. How are you?
I am good. We are full steam ahead in Sacramento market. It's definitely we've really moved to pivot everything to be virtual. So I just did a training actually on Facebook last week, walking everybody through how you can make sure we take care of our clients and our communities virtually and reassuring them and everything. So we're coming up with different scripts, and we're everything from like the initial conversation on the phone, setting the expectation for them of what the market is like, and that if buyers are out there, they're absolutely serious buyers and they're willing to wear the gloves and the masks and do all the safety precautions, and interest rates are super low. And if sellers are out there, my gosh, they're often getting multiple offers on properties because there's such little inventory. So we're good. I run 4 different 6-figure businesses, so it's quarantine is not relaxing, and I have a 9-month-old, but it's good. We're happy and healthy.
And Rachel, you're as you mentioned, you're owner of multiple businesses, and one of them is the Rachel Adams Group in up north in KW. But you also one of the top agents in the nation. And you run a coaching company, and I think you guys projected this year to sell what, 70 mil, 70 mil in business. Are you guys still on track?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, we're down about 20% right now from expected goal, but that's our market is down about 30%. So Sacramento market. So it's for us, we're kind of on pace with the market right now.
Right. Yeah. Feel free to share with us whatever in your time. I know that you have to jump on a different call at 11 o'clock. Just go for it. And thank you for being here as well.
Sure. So first off, yeah, thank you so much for having me. For those of you who don't know, my name is Rachel Adams-Lee. I've been in real estate 8 years. I got into real estate when everyone told me not to in 2012, where there were short sales and REOs, and I did not have any money. I was paycheck behind a paycheck, so I borrowed money from everybody I knew. And I started my business really old school, door knocking 200 doors a week, doing 3 open houses a week. I did not close a single house for the first 4 months, but imagine what you have to do in mindset to be door knocking 200 doors and 3 open houses every week. And yet I was able to sell 39 homes that first year, and then 109, then 123. And that's when I hit Wall Street's top 1,000. I've been able to maintain that with my team for the last 5 years. There's 15 of us here in Northern California. So I'm currently in my home office in El Dorado Hills, but my market is the Sacramento kind of Tri-County area. And I'm still the lead listing agent, so I'm in production. One of my major lead generation sources is social media. So I get to travel around the country normally and coach people how to build a business through social media. Last year we had 123 referrals come through with social media. And so I am really passionate about sharing, honestly, like how you can build this business by being authentically you, but by adding value to our community. So if it's okay with you guys, I'd love to share kind of our mindset around COVID and our script that we're doing right now that's been really well received.
Don't hold back.
Okay. So, oh my gosh, Mary, you're so cute. I love all her caps. She's like, please share. Okay, so, right now, what I will tell you is that, so when COVID first hit, I will be honest with you, the first 2 weeks, I was kind of in la la land. I was having way too many cocktails, and I was like, oh, it's vacation. Like, we're home for 2 weeks. And then we were told that it was going to be, the shelter in place was going to be extended, right? And we really had to take this seriously. And I don't think I really truly understood the, economic impact this was going to have. I think none of us really knew what this was going to be in the very beginning. So in the beginning, everybody was scared. And so I love script practice. I love objection handlers and making sure that I always know how to do what's in the best interest of the client and yet overcome the objection, right? As long as that's best for them. And so I came up with a script. And this can be if you are calling your very best client who you've sold 10 houses with, or if this is Joe Smith down the street you've never spoken to. This works for everyone. And especially if you're that agent who should be calling your database, right, 4 times a year, and you just never got around to it. You have such an opportunity right now. So what I would say is I would call and they would answer, and I would say, so Meny, you can be my client, okay?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna ring. ring with my knocking hand. That was weird. That happens hard. Okay, so ring.
Hello, who's this?
Hi, Meny. This is Rachel, your realtor. How are you?
Rachel, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Meny, I just wanted to call and reach out and touch base with you. I mean, normally I'd be calling and letting you know about some houses that just sold in the market right now, but to be honest, that doesn't really feel appropriate. So I wanted to call and see if there's anything I could do for you, either personally or professionally. I mean, how are you?
Thank you for asking. I mean, it's refreshing to get a phone call that's asking really about, how I'm doing. We're doing good. We're just, trying to figure out what's the next best move for us.
Yeah. So just so you know, that's how this call always starts. I always call and I say, normally I'd be calling and letting you about market stats, right? That doesn't feel appropriate right now because I genuinely don't feel it is. And then I say, is there anything I can help you with personally or professionally? Pause. How are you? Now the conversation's going to go all different ways. And to be honest, in the beginning, they weren't then saying to me, oh my gosh, how are you doing? They were scared and they were unsure and people didn't know what was going on. Now that this has been happening for so long, the conversation is shifting to where they say, well, gosh, Rachel, how are you doing? And so I want you to have 2 things prepared. one, I need you to know what's happening with your market stats, which Oscar just did an amazing job sharing with you guys, everything that's happening. And Oscar, I'm going to be reaching out to you to see if you want to do this again with our team, because I was like, oh, that was so good. And so I want you to know, it doesn't need to be something massive. I want you to know either how many houses have gone pending in your the area you service in the last week or the last month, okay? So, for example, I can say when Meny says, how are you, Rachel? How are things going? I say, you know what? Actually, like, I'm doing pretty well, all things considering. I mean, people are really concerned what's happening in the real estate market, but to be honest, we had 600 houses go pending last week alone. So what that tells me is the market's still moving. Now, does it look different? Absolutely, it looks different. If buyers are out there, and then I give my spiel, if buyers are out there, they're serious buyers. They're willing to do the safety precautions, wear the gloves, wear the masks, right? And keep everyone safe. But interest rates are still really low. So if buyers are out there, like, it's a great time to purchase a house. Now, on the flip side, if you're selling your house, my gosh, there's very little inventory. So sellers are in a pretty advantageous position right now because it's a seller's market, and so then I would always say, and gosh, it's definitely a little different right now because we have 9-month-old baby Henry, so my quarantine buddy, kind of calls the shots around here, right? And then, so I talk always about something going personally, and then I talk about something or professionally, and then I always end it with personal, and then this is like your money maker, you guys. I say, Meny, one of the things that we're doing for our community right now that's so much fun is we actually have these scavenger hunts. And we have these 6 different scavenger hunts, and I would love to get your email address and update your contact info to send you these scavenger hunts because, my gosh, right now, everyone just needs a little bit of lightness and fun in their life, and there's nature scavenger hunts, and there's, a rainbow scavenger hunt, and whether you want to do it with your kids or you want to grab a glass of wine and head outside, like whatever works for you, right? Can I get your email address? So I'm leaving Meny with value. And that's what we're doing, you guys. Your job right now, you might not be, busting out escrow after escrow, but you are filling your future pipeline with business. And right now, this is the time to be relational, not transactional. We need to be relational. We need to tell people we care about you, we're here for you, and they need to know you're not going anywhere. I think that's one of the biggest things, consistency, just like lead generation, right? Consistency in real estate. Consistency with your message that we're okay, you're okay. Because what's happening in reality is our community, they're looking to you to know that you're okay because they want to know that they're going to be okay. Like they're literally looking to you for reassurance. And so that I think is something really powerful you can do. And gosh, a great post you could do on social media right now, which I can like speed talk you my 2-day 8-hour class about social media. But one of the things you could do right now is take a screenshot of the training, that Oscar did for you or that I'm doing for you and say, a lot of people, so you'd make a post, write a picture of it, pop a great little filter on it, and you'll put it on social. And you would say, a lot of people have been asking me not only how I am, but how the real estate market is. And gosh, you guys, I just want to take a minute and reassure you because, is it business as usual? No, absolutely not. And yet I want you to know that I'm here for you and that I've got a plan. So last month alone, and then you shoot your stats out, right? This is how many houses went pending or a week or whatever you choose to say. And does business look usual for me? No. Normally I'd be sitting in a classroom and I'd have, Oscar from California Association Realtors sharing with me, or a top agent in the country, Rachel, sharing with me. But this morning I was able to do it from the comfort of my own home. I just want you to know that I'm here for you. If you have any questions about the real estate market, I want to be your resource. And I have these really fun scavenger hunts, right? And for those of you, I'm going to type this in the chat box. I have some, of course, I always like to give you guys giveaways. Okay, so if you go to youtube.com/Rachel Adams Lee, I can spell my own name. Okay, so if you go to youtube.com/Rachel Adams Lee, I do a ton of free coaching. As you guys know, I've been a coach for about 5 years now. You can go to my YouTube channel, and the COVID script that I just gave you is on YouTube, and you can watch the script back. And then if you go to the body, the description of that video, there's a hyperlink where you can grab those scavenger hunts. I truly mean it. Like, I want to see you thrive in your business, not just survive this season. And the people, not every real estate agent is going to make it out of this. but the real estate professionals are going to make it out. And the fact that you are sitting here on a whatever day today is, Wednesday morning, at 10:55, you're committed to your business, you're committed to furthering your education, and this is what is going to make a difference. And yes, Allison just said, if you're a lady, if you are one of the women watching this, I run the Lady Leaders State, so I have a nationwide, internationally now, real estate group on Facebook specific for realtors, just to uplift women. So it's really, really powerful. So thank you for that shout out, Allison, and you're welcome to join in there.
Yeah. Well, I wish we had like another hour with you, Rachel. It's amazing. You know.
Do you want me to talk about a little, like, some social media basics for the next like 4 minutes while I have you?
Can you give us a few more minutes? Is that okay?
Yeah. I have so we're doing one-on-ones with our real estate team, so we're time blocked for like Zooms all today. Okay, so this is the thing with social media, you guys. The shift that will happen in your business is when you make it about other people and not yourself. Yes, it's your social media profile. However, people are going to comment, share, like, and engage with you when something you say resonates with them. So I believe in the 80-20 principle. 80% of what you post about, you guys, it's you. It's where you're going, what you're eating, what you're doing, what you're reading. It is you. 20% of what you talk about, that's going to be real estate. That's going to be the business that you're in. And it doesn't have to be, do you want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate today? It doesn't have to be that. It can be a heartfelt post like we just talked about. That can be a real estate post. Should you have a personal or a business page? You should have both. However, I will be honest with you, all of my referrals came to my personal page. Why? Because people work with people they like, and they like you. But they need to know who you are, and they need to know what makes you tick, and they want to know that you're more than just selling houses. Because if you're only talking about real estate, you're that person who's out there to get something. The shift in your business is going to happen when you're out there to give. Every morning when I wake up and I put a post on social media, I think, how can this add value to someone? How is this going to uplift someone or engage them or make them think about something differently or touch their heartstrings, right? And so that's a really powerful thing when you can connect with someone on a deeper level. And do you have a business page? Absolutely. Because when you have Google, that's where it's going to pull up your search. Like if you type in Rachel Adams Realtor, it's going to pull up my business page, not my personal page. And yet I also have testimonials and reviews there. So you want to have it be a professional reference for you. And yet I'm telling you, your referrals are going to come to your personal page. And don't be afraid. Don't think that you can't have, just because I'm in California, I wouldn't have a referral for you, like in Southern California, or anywhere else in the world. I shared my plan for how my entire virtual business plan. And I had some local agents send me messages and say, what are you doing? Why are you sharing everything? This is crazy. Like people are going to use your system. People are going to take your clients. I said, oh, no. You have to think like when you have an abundant mindset, there's always more business out there. If you have a scarcity mindset, then you're right. They're going to take my clients. They're going to take my scripts. But reality is 99% of people that are listening to what I'm saying, they're not going to implement it. Be the 1%. Be the 1% that implements it. So if you have like a great script that you come across that's added value to you and your business, you guys go in one of those real estate specific networking groups and share something that happened in your business that positively added value. Because when you're the person who's continually adding value to other agents around the globe, they're going to have someone who needs to move to Southern California, or they're going to hear about someone who needs to move, and they're like, your goal is to have them, 4 offices down, hear someone say, gosh, I have a friend who's going to be moving to Southern California. And they run in the office and they say, oh my gosh, you have to call Rich, right? Or whatever. That's the idea, is that you are always giving and sharing and adding value, and then people work with people they like.
Yes. Rachel Adams Lee, you're amazing. And you always share mentality, and I love your energy.
I love you guys too. You guys also, if you want just like some free goodies and scripts and things that I have, if you send an email to the goods at racheladamsgroup.com, that email will shoot you back. When you send an email to them, you'll get an email back from me with like how to beat the Instagram algorithm, some social media coachings that I've done, all that kinds of stuff. And I have 3 new coaching programs coming out towards the end of the year. So just stay tuned.
We'll connect and we're going to do something fun together, Rachel.
I'd love
Again,
it.
thanks. Thank you so much. Stay safe, be well. I appreciate the time.
And if you guys need anything, just follow me on social and I'll be happy to connect.
Yeah, you got it.
Take care, everybody. Stay healthy.
You too. Rachel Adams-Lee, superstar real estate coach and mega agent. That was amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye. Take
Stay
care.
safe. And quick share. I already got the information from the senior economist for CR, Mr. Oscar Way. So I'm going to drop that link for you guys as well in our KW Ford Living group. So Oscar, thank you, and I'm going to send you back the information afterwards. We're heading, it's about close to 300 people right now in the meeting between the two platforms. So just quick share before I'm going to let you guys go. Fresh from the oven, if you may, our labs, our KW Tech people, never dull moment. They don't stop, they don't rest. So a few features that you really want to know about. Number one is the KW app, the KW consumer app. Right now, you can also do live video tours. Okay, you can check out this little GIF, image over here, and just it gives you step by step how to do this. But it's pretty incredible. Once again, either Zoom, FaceTime, what have you, Facebook Messenger. That you probably know that right now. Zuckerberg and Facebook, they released an upgrade of those features as well. How you can incorporate that part of your meetings. But through the KW app, the consumer app, you can do live video tours. We're going to do a few sessions for you as soon as we do on a weekly basis. The second thing is that you can start searching, or when I say you, is also, of course, the consumer, your consumer, search by landmark, wherever they are. It doesn't have to be in a specific address, and they just added this whole layer nationwide of landmarks, so that's pretty incredible too. When they're out and about, so they don't just have to search properties, they can also use that engine that you have providing them as like Google Map, or if you may. This week we still have, as you can see, this is our 2-week training calendar. It's all live. Entering phase 1. I spoke earlier with Oscar Way about us reopening the offices, etc. So we are excited to phase 1, but we're still going to practice social distancing and all the elements of us keeping everything remote and virtual. So as you can see, we're full on engaged with that. And tomorrow, I can't believe it's already here, Red Day. Once a year, we are getting together. We are engaging. We are giving back to the community. Unfortunately, we cannot be there physically for our people out and about, but we are doing a pretty cool virtual giving back, and that's Halley. What's the scoop? What's the recent for?
For Operation Gratitude.
Yep.
Yes, for Operation Gratitude. Make sure you get your letters and everything submitted tomorrow. Let's flood social media with red. Wear your shirts, wear your Red Day stuff, invite your clients. Again, this is a great opportunity to market to your sphere by doing some phone calls, sending some emails, and asking them to participate. Meny, are you going to talk about, we are having a session tomorrow that you can hop on to our Blue Jeans link anywhere from 9 a.m. to noon. And, just socialize with each other, write cards together. Those of you that aren't sure what to write, what to do, hop on during that time and we can all work it out together.
Yep, thank you,
Right?
Halley. Yep, exactly, yeah. So tomorrow, 9 a.m. To around noon or so, hop on the platform. We're going to share that social space and we're going to do things together. We're going to wear our Red Day shirts and, do whatever we can and to support our community. With that, thank you once again to all the heroes out there, to all the our professionals, to the CR leadership. Oscar, thank you, and all the CR leadership, all the NAR leadership. We had them on our shows, on our meetings in the past, and to you guys out there. So stay safe, be well, and with that, we're gonna conclude our meeting. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe again, and keep practicing and staying focused and purposeful. And Oscar, thank you again for sharing that information with us. Much appreciated. Okay, everybody, stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.